Hello Pixies, it's Zoe here, and today I have for you the most popular tag on YouTube, probably because everyone always does it every single year, and that is the mid-year freakout tag. I'm super excited to be doing this. I have everything listed out. I think it'll be good to update you on my little reading journey, and it is, when this video is going up, exactly midway through the year, which is July 2nd. At least that's what it is according to Google. And yeah, so I have some of the books here physically with me today, but a lot of them actually I don't have with me, so I will be putting the pictures somewhere on the screen. So without further ado, let's just get on into this tag. First question. Best book you've read so far in 2024? And honestly, that has to go to A Feather So Black by Lyra Celine. I'm not so sure how to pronounce her last name, or the last name. I don't know if it's a pen name or not. Some of you, if you've watched my first video, which was Books to Get to Know Me, you know I listed this as one of my favorite books because I just loved everything about it. But I'm just gonna do a little repeat of myself, that this follows a changeling who is in the human world and is the only fae left in this world because of a war that happened beforehand, and all the gates between the fae world and the human world were closed until they discovered the 13th gate. But instead of trying to instigate war right off the bat, the queen, who is her foster mother, sends her on a quest to retrieve her true human daughter, who has been kept as a swan maiden all this time. It was really good. It had so much Celtic mythology. It was fae books done well. Of course there was a romance element, but it actually kind of made sense. And I was just so enamored by this book. I was so in love with it. It was everything I could want out of a fae book. Sweet Pea, you better be good. My cat's being a menace. But I thought it was so well done. I thought it was everything you could want out of a fae book. If you even like the inkling of fae fiction, but you don't really like its execution most of the time, I would really say to give this one a try. It's by far been my favorite. One of the only books I've given a 9 out of 10 stars this year. I rate out of 10 instead of out of 5, but if this were out of 5, it would have been a 5-star ranking because the way it works in my brain. Whatever, you don't care. There's only one of 2. And I'm not mentioning the other one right now because I am going to mention it later, and I'm really trying not to repeat. I have to get my cat right. So next question, best sequel you've read so far in 2024? And that I have to give it up to Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson. Sorcery of Thorns, if you've again watched my Books to Get to Know Me video, was listed as one of my favorite books of all time. And I was not disappointed with Mysteries of Thorn Manor. This is just a little bit of extra, nothing big happens in terms of oh, everything's so different than how it was in the first book. I think the first one stands alone, but this is just a little short story to go along with it and wraps up some loose ends or maybe some cliffhanger-y things that people believe is in the first one. And you just get more domestic romance with magical shenanigans on the side. It isn't so much magical shenanigans with a side of romance, if you get what I mean, like the first book is. I really had fun with this, and it's so short and small and sweet. And it is my favorite sequel that I've read so far. It didn't come out this year, it came out last year. I just got to it this year. So there's that. And also, I'm trying to not do multiple books per question, really. Well, am I doing that? Not really. But another book I want to shout for best sequel I've read so far in 2024 is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Chalice of the Gods. Now, Do I hold this to as high of a bar as the original Percy Jackson Olympians, the first 5 books? No. This is not as good in my opinion, but those books are literally the perfect books to me. There are no books that hit that level. So that's a really unfair standard, especially since this is a quieter story and not really connected to the events of the first series. It's just after both series, and Percy is trying to get into Godly College. Godly College? College in New Rome. That's what it's called. You know, he's doing like silly little quests around New York, and I had fun with it. I love being in Percy's perspective again. Do I think this maybe could have been like, you know, upgraded to be YA instead of middle grade? I think that would make a little bit more sense for the age Percy is and how much he's been through. I don't think his thoughts in the first person perspective would be this light after everything he's been through. Sorry. I don't think his perspective would be quite the same as it was when he was younger after everything he's been through. I think that it could have been a smart move to but I still really enjoyed this, and I love being in the world of Percy Jackson. This is my favorite world. The original series is my favorite series of all time. So I really like this book. I think I gave it an 8 out of 10. So yeah, one of the best sequels I've read so far this year. All right, question 3. New release you haven't read yet but want to. The first book on this list. I'm not gonna go super deep into what these books are about, because I haven't read them, so like my brain doesn't quite remember what they're about. But the first book on this list is The Heartless Hunter, also known as the Crimson Moth duology, or just as the Crimson Moth in the UK/Europe. I don't really quite sure why they were doing that. Like, there's this witch times witch hunter, and she's like an aristocrat, and she is the Crimson Moth who is helping witches escape this regime, and the other guy is suspicious of her and like courts her, even though he knows his brother or close friend is into her, and then they actually end up falling for each other a bit, even though they're enemies, and they're both kind of like playing each other. I'm not quite so sure. And the other one is Song of the Six Realms, and this is a fantasy romance with a lot of mythology, folklore aspects, and I really, really would like to read that. I haven't really heard anyone talk about it. Hopeful it'll be good, and people just haven't come across it yet. And to follow that question up is question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Who would I be if I did not list Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Wrath of the Triple Goddess? Listen, is it one of my most anticipated books of this year? Definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm so excited to read it. I know Chalice of the Gods, like, was it a perfect read? No, but I still loved it. I still had fun. I love being in Percy's perspective, and I'm really looking forward to that witchy vibe, because Hecate is the goddess he's doing the quest for, but it goes wrong according to the like little inside cover. It comes out in September. I'm gonna try so hard to get it when it comes out. I really, really, really want to read it, but I am going to be moving soonish. Also want to shout out A Dark and Drowning Tide. This is like a fantasy dark academia book, which is academic rivals to lovers, and it also has a mystery because they're both in this like program, and they're underneath, like they're being taught by this one person, and that person goes missing, and so they have to team up together to find them and to figure and like keep doing their academic studies, and they end up falling for each other, and I am so here for it. Like, I am so excited. I'm so excited. The Girl with No Reflection is also a book I'm really excited about, another fantasy romance, and it's about a girl who is forced to be like engaged to this prince, but she doesn't really like him. He's kind of cold, and they keep her like locked up in her room, and the only thing she has is the mirror. But then one day she falls through the mirror, or like goes through the mirror, and she's in this mirror world where everyone's different, and the prince there is really charming and nice. But then like there's like this whole fantasy element. Another book I'm really excited about that is releasing very soon actually is Guardian of the Dawn. Amy, or is it Ami? I'm not sure. I'm really excited about this. I'll dive into this a little bit more later though. So yeah. So next question, I don't remember the numbers because I got off my groove because of somebody, is biggest disappointment. Man, I'm gonna go with the one I don't have first. I have one of them, I don't have the other one. And that is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, which is the second book and the conclusion to the Serpent and the Wings of Night arc, because it's going to be a series, but it's like a series of duologies. I hated this book. I was so upset because I really liked Serpent and the Serpent and the Wings of Night. I thought it was really fun. I zoomed through that. I drank that book up so quickly. It took me months to read this book. It took me months because I was just not into it because I couldn't find the point. Like, I couldn't find it. No matter how much I read of it, I couldn't find it. Like, the last about 200 pages is good, but the first 400 are straight garbage in my opinion. I think I rated it a bit too highly in my reading journal, to be honest, but I really did like the last around 200 pages because it felt like the first book. I think there's a lot of things that could have been improved. If you want to see me do a deep dive of these two books and where I think it went wrong in the second book, let me know down below. I could do more of a video essay type style if you wish to see it. But I was really, really disappointed because I was really looking forward to reading that. And the second book that I'm really disappointed by is In the Lives of Puppets by T.J. Klune. I really liked The House in the Cerulean Sea, which is not an unpopular opinion, but this book is nothing like The House in the Cerulean Sea. And like, obviously it's a different book, it's got sci-fi, it's not fantasy, it's sci-fi, but it wasn't good. Like, it wasn't good. Like, the vibes, not there. The writing, no. Concept, no. On the inside cover, on this cover, the human character who is being raised by a robot, it says that when he finds this android, like another android in the dump, and he fixes him, that alerts like the beings in Geo's former life, the android's former life, to his presence, and he's taken away. This takes like 150 pages to do those events that are listed in the second paragraph on the inside cover, and that drives me insane. And then the further it's like, okay, maybe it's a slow start to set things up and show you how much he really cares for like his android father, but it was really like, when we got past that point, it just did not do it for me. I was forcing myself to read this. Like, I was forcing it because I just wanted to finish. I just wanted to be done. Honestly, I was reading this for class. Yes, I was reading it for class. And if I wasn't, I would have DNF'd it because at the beginning it was too slow. And then when we got past the point that was listed again on the inside cover, so it's not a secret that this is gonna happen and you're just waiting for it to happen for over 100 pages, and then it's just no. It's just no. I'm quite upset by this. This is one of my lowest rated books of the year so far. I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy. I think some of the elements were kind of half-baked, not thought through well. It wasn't interesting to read. Oh man, I really did not like this. I'm really upset by this book, if you couldn't tell. Biggest surprise. Okay, this one is a happier one. So the first book I want to put up is The Winter Duke. And this is I don't remember who it's by. Probably should have looked that up before I started. But I read this book back in January, and this was another book that I just flew through. I was having the time of my life reading this, and I would say it's a biggest surprise because I had never heard anyone talk about this. I've never seen it anywhere before. I've never seen it on BookTube. I've never seen it on Pinterest. Like, I've never seen it before in my life. I just picked it off a shelf in a library because I was just looking for something to read, like before I started school again back in January. I think I picked it up in December, but I read it like very beginning of January. And it was so fun. The premise is that there is like a dukedom, and this young woman, she wants to go to college in the South, but she's been told her entire life that she has to wait until like her brother's basically coronation, but her siblings are always trying to kill each other because they want to be duke. And the reason they want to be duke is because the duke is the only one who has access to the below, and the below is a watery kingdom below the ice that they live upon, and they are the only people who have access to magic. The people below, they perform magic, and the duke is the only one who can learn the secrets of magic. And that is amazing. But our main character, she's not really interested until one night, everyone wakes her up and says that she's the duke now because her entire family has fallen into an enchanted sleep except her. So now she is duke, and she has to figure out what is causing her family's magical comatose. And I thought it was really good. It's very political. Like, StoryGraph says this is a slow-paced book, but I would definitely say it's a fast-paced book. Like, this is, like, it's listing out the days as the section. Like, yeah, a lot happens during a day, but this is, you know, a political crisis. So I'll give it that. So that's why I loved it. And the other book that I'm really surprised by is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. And if you're like, why are you surprised by The Cruel Prince? Everyone loves it. Well, I have read The Cruel Prince before, and I didn't like it at the time that I read it. I was in high school. It was closer to the time of its release that I read this book. And it was also right after I read A Court on Thorns and Roses, which I really do enjoy. I really do enjoy A Court on Thorns and Roses, and I think I was looking for that again. And I remember specifically not liking the fact that, like, they go to, like, the human realm, even though I know I was praising that earlier with A Feather So Black, but that was, like, an old human realm, and this was just, like, they go to Target and, like, the mall. So it was, like, the modern world, but then the fairy world isn't like that. But this time around, I was invested. I was so into it. I couldn't understand why I didn't like it the first time that I read it. Like, seriously. And I'm still kind of questioning why. Like, I kind of get my thought process at the time. This was a long time ago. This was probably like close to 8 years ago, 7 years ago. Something around there. It was a long time ago. All right, next question. Favorite new author? This is new, like, debut author or new to you. I guess it would be both, because it is Lyra Selene from A Feather So Black. How could I not list it? I didn't really want to repeat books, but I'm just going to shout out this author in this book again. I'm really excited to see what she does in the future and to see the continuation of A Feather So Black. Next up, for the next question, we have book that made you Nope. The next question is book that made you cry. And this is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This is the other book that was my 9-star, 5-star read of the year. This is one of my favorite books I've read so far this year. This is a middle grade about this town where every single year, or so, every once in a while, we'll just say that, they leave out a child in the forest for the witch in the woods, the bog or whatever, to collect. And the witch in the woods doesn't know why this happens, but she takes the baby to the town on the other side of the woods where she is well liked. and along the way she feeds the baby Starlight, but one day she accidentally feeds a baby Moonlight, and Moonlight is how you make magical folk. So she decides to raise the girl herself, and this is not just a story about the girl and her adopted mother, but the town she comes from, the town over the wall, the dragon who lives with them, the bog monster who lives with them. It's so sweet, and this is one of the closest times I've came to crying during a book. I'm not a book crier. I'm a TV show crier, so don't think I'm unemotional. I'll cry about a cartoon. I literally cried both times I watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, with the emotional scenes at like the climax where Master Splinter is like, I need to get this to my boys. Like I cry a lot. But I'm not really a book crier. This almost made me a book crier. This is a very emotional book, and I absolutely loved it. I loved it. I don't like the prickly feeling in my eyes, but I love that book. And next up, for real this time, book that made you happy, and that is The Dragon with the Chocolate Heart. This is just a sweet middle grade trilogy. I do think the first book is best. Do I really think you need to continue with the series? No, they're all fine. But I really did like The Dragon with the Chocolate Heart. I thought it was really sweet. I thought the idea was really kind of out there, like a dragon who falls in love with making chocolate and gets cursed to become a human. I think that's so cute. And I really like the friendships. I really like the main character because she's so spunky and has got so much attitude and doesn't let anything keep her from accomplishing what she wants to accomplish. Now, the most beautiful book you got this year. So I have two books here. One of them was a book I received for my birthday, and the other one is from a library book sale, so it has like a plasticky cover on it, if you see that. Now, I don't really get special editions of books. Like, I understand why they're a thing. I'm just saying I don't receive them. I don't really buy them. No one else in my life buys them. You get what I'm saying. They're not really a thing I have in my life. But these are just two covers that I think are pretty and stand out to me. So the first book I have is Blood Countess, which I think is a novelization of real event, well, inspired by the Blood Countess. And I don't remember the years, but she literally is one of probably the most renowned serial killers in history. If you can even call it serial killers and not just mass murder, because she wasn't really hunting anyone down. She was literally having like girls sent to her home and killing them and bathing in their blood and drinking their blood because she thought it would make her forever young and beautiful, and this is a real thing. But this is kind of inspired by that, and I think it's about a girl who gets sent there. Yeah, I think this cover is pretty. It's got like a nice gothic feel. The black is shiny. It's simplistic. It's got the castle. I just think it looks nice. I think it's one of the prettiest books I've gotten. And the other one is Wildwood Imperium. And this is the third book in the Wildwood trilogy. I haven't read any of them yet. I only own the second two because that's what was at the book sale. But I thought the cover was really cute. Like, let's see. I'm having a hard time showing it because it's shiny. But I really like the cover of this. Like, it's simplistic, but it's like it's got a style to it. And I quite like that. The next question is actually a question I added myself, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone out there has added this question themselves before. I don't watch everybody's mid-year freakout tag. Obviously, there's so many booktubers, there's so many people who do this tag. And also, people tend to change up questions year to year. So someone might have done it years in the past, and I just don't know about it. But the question is, series you're excited to continue. And for that, I have Guardians of the Dawn. I read Guardians of the Dawn Sahara this year, and this is a book I really liked, and like, I just had so much fun. It's not a perfect read, but I had so much fun reading it. And Guardians of the Dawn, Ami, like I mentioned earlier in the video, is coming out quite soon. And I'm really excited to see where the quartet goes because there's 4 Guardians of the Dawn that have to be discovered. This is the first one, Ami is the second one, and This was so fun, so magical. It's got like that old school kind of YA magic vibe to it, but like brought more into like the current. So it's not like as many like cringy things happening, if that makes sense. Guardians of the Dawn Sahara is marketed. That's the word. Guardians of the Dawn Sahara is marketed as being Cinder meets Sailor Moon. And honestly, I've got to agree. Like, she's got like a Cinderella-y backstory, but she has like magic that is illegal to have in this universe. And it's like a magical girl adventure. Like, how could you want anything more? How could you want anything more? I think this is so fun. I'm so excited to see where the rest of the series goes, and I'm really excited about the second book, which has a Beauty and the Beast type twist to it. Some of these are questions that was off of someone's mid-year book freakout tag last year, but I didn't write down, so I don't remember who exactly it was. And it's just 2 of these. One of these is a normal question. You know, we're just doing things differently. That's fine. But the next question is book you feel embodies the vibe of your reading year so far. And I have to go with Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. I've read a lot of fairy books this year. I've also read a lot of shorter books this year. This is the vibe of my reading year. Like, fairy tale, kind of cozy, some adventure, curses, magic, fairies. It's everything. It's everything. And this is also like a Sleeping Beauty retelling. I love me a good retelling. I've read quite a few of them this year. Like, as you just, like, literally Guardians of the Dawn Sahara has like a Cinderella type element. So, Thornhedge, this is the vibe. Book do you need to read by the end of the year? All of them, all the books in the universe. I'm not really gonna list any particular books here, especially since I'm such a mood reader. However, I should have a video up next week, which are books I want to read by the end of the year. So if you're interested in my answer, maybe go check out that video, and I'll leave that question on that. And for the last question, if you have any bookish goals, how are they going? So my bookish goal for the year, like the amount of books I want to read this year, is 52. Because I was a full-time student until relatively recently, and I'm gonna be moving and work and all these things. So I thought 52 was a good number because that's a book for every week of the year. And so far I have read 28 books, but by the end of the day, I should have read 29 books, which I'm quite excited about. So I'm over halfway done with my goal, and it's a bit over halfway through the year now. So I am right on track with my reading goals because I am quite happy about that. Also with my bookish bingo for the year, I have filled out quite a few prompts, but I haven't made a bingo yet, but it's more so about filling out the whole card for me, you know? So some of those books to fill those prompts will be in my books I want to read before the end of the year video, and I'll explain a bit more about my bookish bingo, maybe there or maybe in a vlog. Let me know if you would want to hear about it. Thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate it. I hope you like my version. I wouldn't say my version. I hope you like the mid-year freakout tag. I know it wasn't very traditional, and maybe I should have mentioned it at the start, like I didn't do new fictional crush, because I don't really like that question. I think it's kind of weird in my opinion, but I think I'm one of the only people who thinks that. And I had some questions that some other people came up with. I added the one I came up with, but like, did I really come up with it? Probably not. It wasn't very traditional, but I had a lot of fun, and it lets you know some of the things that I've read and liked and disliked so far this year, especially since my channel is relatively new, and it kind of gives you a look at what my reading year has been like so far. I will do like a reading like wrap up type of video at the end of the year, so you can see like my reading year as a whole, and I hope you stick around for that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like me, like my vibe, like how I did this video, then, you know, then subscribe, stick around. I would love to have you. And yeah, I guess I'm signing off now. Bye.